Okay, we are
I'm
live.
thinking about covering up, keeping dermatologists from going on Caribbean vacations every year. Cut stuff off anyway, so we'll be busy.
All right, you guys ready? Everything's good. All right, I'll call this meeting order Wednesday, July 16th. This is a regular school board meeting. It's 6:02, we're almost on schedule. Can we get a roll call?
Mike Thatcher?
Ken Donnelly,
Clay Duffy is present. Eric Blue said he was running a couple minutes late, so he'll be here in a second, but we can do the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody looked over the agenda? Issues with the agenda? Anybody want a motion to approve and adopt the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Anybody like to second? I will
I'll
second.
second.
There we go.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, Kenny seconded. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. On to the community forums. Anybody be at the top today? Anybody wants to say anything today? All right, moving on to the consent agenda. I still have a question about the minutes from May 21st. Don't know if anybody else has anything they want to talk about in there.
I'll speak to it a little bit. There was a motion made about an employee. It would be preferable to have the statement on the minutes be cleaner and more concise and clear.
I think so.
That was
also.
what the motion was.
So I will ask to table the minutes from May 21st until the next consideration. Anybody else have anything to say about the consent agenda? Does anybody want to motion to approve the consent agenda? Minus
I'll
the,
make a motion to approve the consent.
It's all right. I'll second the motion.
all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I interject?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchell, was that motion excluding the change that trustee Tucker had explained?
Would you like me to rephrase that?
That would be great, just for clarity.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding the portion that trustee Tucker mentioned.
Okay, now we have a motion. Would anybody second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right. Moving on to the action items, new business. We have approved handbooks, elementary handbook, Roman school handbook, middle school, high school, parent, student handbook, parent and student athlete handbook, coaches handbook, employee handbook, new teacher mentoring program, substitute handbook. Would you like to talk about any of those?
I'm gonna let Mr. Williams begin.
All right, I can talk about a couple of them specific to athletics. The parent and athlete handbook and the coaches handbook. And there was just a couple of things, I know you all received them from Stephanie and have the documents, but we did make a note in the coaches handbook about morning practices and trying to move away from those unless absolutely necessary because of gym space or because there's a game that night, and so everyone can't get on the court, so they have to have a morning. But it stated in there, and I saw you read that no coach can come out of a practice schedule that basically relies on morning practices. So, and then another major change within the handbook was the academic expectations. We used to have athletes that would then get, let's say they have an F, and they have a week to recover that, and then we found that was just chasing constantly, and everyone has Alma, and kids know what their grades are every minute of every day. And so there would not be that week. They would do grade checks with me on Thursday during advisory. All athletes will come to me. They'll have their computers open with Alma up. I'm just checking, looking. Okay, you're good, you're eligible, you're good. And if they're not, then they're ineligible. And they have the next Thursday, I'll check again and see if they're eligible to play. And all the coaches have been told this, and it's kind of new, taking out that 1 week where we basically were playing this game of chasing them, and then another grade would drop, and then they'd have a week on that one. So they consistently had an F, but they were getting to participate all the time. And it's really hard to monitor that as the ED. I'll just be very honest with kids. And in our day and age of technology, it feels like they know where their grades are, their parents know where their grades are. If you're worried, then you need to apply yourself. If you're worried about a test on Wednesday that's going to affect Thursday, then you need to prepare for that test Wednesday. Because academics comes first, and that's what we're trying to push on them. So that was another big change in the handbook coming from that side. If there's any questions.
On the, I believe it was coach's handbook, there
Yeah.
are too many of them.
Yeah.
When it talks about the role of the athletic director,
Mhm.
where in there it says selects coaches, and then I think that it's kind of in conflict with the rest of it.
So it does say it's.
And it says selects coaches, I should have printed that before.
Yeah, it should say that upon, like, the superintendent and the athletic director together will push head coaches to the board, which we did last month for the coming year.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was a kind of.
A weird thing that was left in there.
Somebody could read it and say, oh, you selected all the coaches.
Okay,
Recommendations, I guess.
yeah. So we recommend to the board, the superintendent. It might say it in a different copy from an old coach's handbook, there's a line there.
Yeah.
And so we can go back through and look at that, to delete that out, because it definitely should not, I mean, that's not what we want.
Other than that,
The only other thing that was in draft was looking at the numbers to facilitate a program being run. And so there's a draft on there that shows that for individual sports, cross country, wrestling, track, you would need 6 athletes to justify running that program, paying coaches, paying fees, paying travel expenses. For team sports, it's 1 above the minimum. So if it's basketball, you need 6. If it's volleyball, you need 7, because you play 6 at a time. For football, it's 2 above the minimum because of the nature of the sport and the higher propensity for injury. So it's 10. So we kind of put in there some things that would go in and show we really can't run these programs if we don't have the numbers to justify it across the board. Not picking on any one program, we just don't know where it's going to fluctuate from year to year, and we don't have to keep, are we going to run it or are we not going to run it? Are we going to have it or are we not going to have it? It's like, well, now it's set, and if we can't, and then there's a note that said, if someone would like to volunteer to do this program, they can meet with me. They're not going to get a coach's stipend, but they can still run that program if they had 3 kids. I'd say they wanted to.
Soccer program, you could if they.
If we offered soccer. See, in high school, it gets real tricky. You had any sport, you pay fees to Idaho High School Athletic Association, all these
Like
other
running.
things. Yes,
Okay.
so, that would be something that we potentially would offer, already, but if they wanted to, and volunteer to set those programs up, they could do that. So it'd be up to the situation at that point. But we can't really justify running programs, any program, with so few students for that kind of expense.
on that, I was wondering if we should add cheerleading to that list.
We definitely could put that as part of an activity.
I couldn't think of anything else off the top of my head. on that right now.
Yeah, we could add cheerleading in there for that number. Any other? Those were the big items. Okay. For my two handbooks that I was doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This change is great. Well received.
I do have a wondering on that note, if the board wants to, if, we couldn't do it during this meeting because it's not on the consent agenda, but if the board would want to make a motion, just so that it's in policy, the 6-person minimum per activity.
Oh,
Something for you guys to think about.
that's not
if
in
you
the
wanted-
handbook, that's in the
It's,
draft.
um,
So we would add,
It's not in policy right now, in any of our board policies, but it is something that has been discussed in the past. So, I know Chairman Donnelly was keen on having that in policy.
well, doesn't the handbook represent policy if it's,
Yeah,
like,
so,
if it's in the handbook, then it's, like, we don't have to make another policy for the handbook, do we?
that's correct, yeah.
Okay, so as long as it's in the handbook, we can accept and adopt that with those modifications, I'm good with that,
And we can update these handbooks
as we want.
constantly.
This
That makes sense.
So add cheerleading to the list.
That was my suggestion. I
Okay.
don't know if anybody agrees with me or not.
Well, it's considered a sport, I mean, they also have a stipend for the coach, so. I think so.
I can add that easily to the draft too, and put it in the coach's handbook.
I know it's not an expensive activity. For uniforms and gear.
Okay, where are we at?
So
Ken, go ahead.
before we move on from the handbooks, one thing I wanted to mention was we did have a coaching committee and, I think it'd be nice to kind of have a debriefing on that, maybe, for Ryan and even the board, just to go over some of the ideas that we discussed. And I do know there's quite a few things in here that are different than what we were suggesting from that committee, but also they were just recommendations. I understand that. So, one of them that kind of stood out to me was on page 9, it says at the June school board meeting, recommendations for coaching assignments for fall and winter sports will be made. Whereas previously we talked about making those selections pretty close to the end of season so that the next coach had the full year to plan for camps and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But I'm fine with moving on from what we have here. It's just, we might want to come back to these again and look over again throughout the year.
Well, the only program that I'm aware of that does require a lot of that planning and prep and time is football, right?
Basketball, they did a lot of camps
Yeah,
this
they did some
summer.
camps.
Heather had 3 camps this summer, Jill had 2,
Okay, so basketball and football.
are the big ones.
And so right now, if I'm hearing you right, Ken, we're doing the selection for that in the summer, June, for the fall.
That's what we're doing, yeah, this year, I agree with Ken, I think that wording needs to be changed, and so the fall sports, those coaches would know sooner than the following June. So if you finish your season in November as the football coach, you shouldn't have to wait till June to find out about the coach again, it should be much, much sooner, and so Janelle and I were working on getting it into the schedule, there's 10 days where the job is open, people can apply again, and then if there's an interview needed, so within a month, we should be able to tell that coach.
Okay, so can we just change it to,
Yeah, I think that's what needs to happen.
okay. Can we change that in the handbook?
Mhm,
Still-
for sure. Yep.
Okay,
And Clay, if you get to me somehow that wording, I'll go back and see. I can take that wording out to word, athletic director, I might be able to find it.
so that was the recommendation after the discussion with the coaches committee.
Yes.
It's just, let's do this right after,
Yes.
within a month, so that coach can start to play.
Yep, that coach or the new coach,
Or the new
have
coach.
start
Right.
fundraising, start planning for camp, start preparing for the next season, start meeting with kids. And the kids also know
Yeah.
who is leading the program
So within 1 month after the.
into that sports season.
add that to the handbook.
Yeah, for sure.
Were there anything else in those discussions, Ken, that you wanted to talk about in that coaches discussion?
Most of the stuff, I did find some like incomplete sentences and formatting, like spacing issues and stuff, and I made some notes. I was just gonna send them in, but I think the main thing is I'm fine with approving these today, but I do feel like we kind of have to keep it in the back of our minds to bring them up again throughout the school year to
Okay,
make some updates.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one thing, you mentioned the minimum number of players for each sport. Do we want to specify how many have to be enrolled in our school?
Yeah, that's at the top. I put in there enrolled in Garden Valley.
I didn't see
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the very top, says Garden Valley enrolled. So they have to be students enrolled in Garden Valley. 6 for an individual.
Oh, okay, I thought that was for total students, not just enrolled students, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
Was there any discussion, or is there anything in the handbook about the idea of pay to play as far as enrolled students are paying with, their enrollment?
Sure.
But homeschool students are still able to come in, play any sport they want, and get the funds that come out of enrollment kids, but that they're not feeding. So how do we make that fair for the students that are enrolled? Is that in the handbook at all?
It's not in the handbook at all, and the reason for that is, this is a grueling topic that Ryan, Randy, and I have gone over with fine tooth comb several times. At the end of the day, it is my belief that because we have the levy dollars, we're still able to afford the ability to engage in sports for homeschoolers as they are right now. For this next year, we do have to reevaluate it every single year because it is a significant expense for the district. You're absolutely correct in that, and we just have to play it by ear every year. And for this year, I believe that we'll be able to successfully.
Okay, so we just keep it the same this year and we just
Yeah.
revisit it again and just bring it up that, hey, this is,
It felt like there were a lot of athletic and sport things on the table this year, and so we were like, okay, taking on one more big topic with the community would be a lot, and so we're like, we can look forward into the next year, and that would be something that.
I'm good with that. I want everyone to continue to love you.
Okay.
I think it is a really important piece for our community members too.
Yeah.
Everybody has that opportunity to engage forward. And not saying there wouldn't be that opportunity, but.
I'm not saying that like, hey, you're gonna tax them until they get in there, but I'm just saying, it wouldn't hurt to have like a nominal fee for football, or I bet I guess those kids are the same ones who go out and fundraise.
Right.
So, I don't know. Yeah, they're just not paying taxes that go to the school. They're paying to go to the levy, but they're just not paying taxes that go to the school because that kid's not enrolled, so we don't get any money from that kid that's homeschooled. Because we're only paid by enrollment.
Ultimately, we're very fortunate to have those levy dollars and that's what they do support.
All right, we talked about the athletic handbooks. Do you guys, anybody want to talk about any other handbooks?
I can talk about middle school and high school. So I did update that one to reflect our new middle school promotion policy, also new bell schedule, and then also to reflect job duties per title versus per person. So a lot of the previous ones mentioned specific people, and this just has their job title to hopefully minimize the revisions going forward. The new teacher mentoring handbook, I did revise as well.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
A lot of y'all in there.
Yeah. The previous one did have a mentor and mentee scheduled for a meeting, but it was pretty ambiguous as to what would be described. So I did go month by month with different checklists to really help hone in on what's important for those conversations.
Were those problems that we need to fix it?
I don't know if it was necessarily a problem. I think it just needed to be clarified. Yeah. And really to help our new mentor teachers and also mentee just so they know what's coming up. And then the substitute handbook was pretty minimal as well. Again, just to go more with job titles versus specific people, and then updating like pay and bill schedule.
The elementary and the Loman Elementary are similar, and then just your usual updates, you know, as far as changes that have been made, and the year, that sort of thing.
I thought the teacher mentoring handbook, I really like those updates. It's a lot more clear to me now. I did have a couple of questions. One was, it did mention the building principal a couple times, and since we have two principals, do you want to split that out based on whether it's middle school, high school, or elementary? Or who is
Yeah,
considered the building principal?
so it would be whomever is the respective principal.
So if it's
Okay.
elementary
Direct
teacher, it's a
Semantically, we could clarify that better. Yeah. We could do that.
Okay. And then I said the only thing maybe considering adding is possibly classroom management training for emergency hires. That's something that we had talked about before.
Okay.
And then, I also said maybe suggesting mentor helping to develop or verify and schedule coursework to get the emergency hires verified in a reasonable amount of time.
We can definitely add that in.
I don't know if that needs to be a policy or if that's just part of a procedural thing, but just to help them along to understand the process for getting certified.
It's a good point.
Anything else, Ken?
Just opening the documents as I get here. I guess I didn't catch what you guys had mentioned on the minimum number of athletes. Sorry, going back to that one. It does seem like the minimum number of athletes for each sport makes sense to me. I just didn't know if we actually had to have enough athletes for that particular sport that are enrolled in school. Like if we had, for basketball, if we had 4 that were enrolled and 3 that were homeschooled, that would be okay. If we wanted to break it out where there was a percentage or something like that.
Well, I think, let's say that you didn't have any for cross-country and you wanted to run a cross-country program and drive all the kids. How do you do that? How do you justify doing that with the limited funding that you have, and then you don't have any enrollment dollars paying for it? Like, is it based off a
There needs
percentage?
to be a minimum percent, but I'm thinking.
What is the
like
minimum
football,
percent?
Let's say it takes 10 kids. If we had 8 that were enrolled at the school and there was 2 homeschoolers that wanted to do it. And maybe
Then, yeah,
to give the discretion to the AD.
Yeah, no, I don't know if that's a slippery slope to start heading down. And setting a percentage, that would be something we could look at doing and saying 3/4 of that number have to be enrolled instead of 100%.
that's good.
But again, it's funding, it's money, we're paying for that full salary, all like fees, all the transportation. And again, you have that issue with the money's not coming in. But if you wanted to set it at 75% or something like that have to be enrolled. So if it's 6, you have to have 4 of those 6, or it would have to be 5 actually. 4 would only be 67%. I don't know, whatever.
My concern with that is the sustainability aspect.
Okay.
And it does, it gets confusing.
How many sports are close to this actually? Matt?
This year,
Yeah, last year.
so we would have coming up based on what I've asked students and what I think is gonna happen in cross-country. And I've already talked to Michelle's.
All my kids play. so-
Michelle's very aware that cross-country is probably not gonna happen. And we talked even today, and she's like, it's okay, I've got my mind around it, if we can't, we can't. Wrestling are probably the 2 closest.
And then
Girls basketball in the middle school could be an issue too. They just only have one returner, Dowling, and then there's not a lot moving up that are really basketball, like gung ho, that I've talked to that are coming up 6th and 7th graders.
My twins are.
So they didn't,
I didn't let them do it last year because they're really.
right, so there's 2 more, so you never know how it's gonna play out, but you need 6 to run that, because you need 5 and you need a sub, because last year they had 6. And they got in trouble a couple times, because I remember a couple students had to go on a vacation or someone got sick. Now they have no subs. So you want that one extra kid just in case for those team sports. Those would be the 3 this year that could be, cheerleading would be another one that I don't see having. They had 3 last year. So I'm not sure that would make it either.
And again,
Should we
there's
lower
still,
the number to 5?
Well, I put 6 because that was the minimum number for any team sports.
Okay.
So then you're not playing favorites and saying, oh, individual sports get less than the team sports get. The minimum team sport we had was 6. I'm like, okay, that's 6, then we'll take the lowest number for individual sports.
That makes sense, just to create a standard.
Yeah, and just try to make it fair, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then like, I remember having this discussion with Michelle, how many cross-country are coming back? Not very many, 2, my daughter. And that's when I told my other 3 kids, look, guess what you all get to do.
Yeah,
Need more kids.
and again, there's a volunteer opportunity. If somebody would want to volunteer as a coach and they could fundraise,
Then you can still do it.
very much so.
yeah, for sure. And every sport is very unique. As those individual sports for cross country, all the middle school and high school events are together, which is, it's the only sport like that. So like, you could technically take those kids and go to the same meets and it's the same bus. And like, you can't do that with wrestling. There are different girls and boys. You can't do that with a lot of sports. They're not at the same thing at the same time all the time. Track's not. I couldn't say, well, I went 3 middle school track and 3 high school track and that makes 6. It doesn't work because we have different seasons and they don't go to the same meets. So I think the only one that they go to the same meets, have the exact same season is cross country. So you could technically get away with it in that one versus the other sports.
Anything else, Kenny?
That did bring up one more question that I have. So it did say if there was less than the minimum number that the coach could volunteer to coach, but would the school still provide uniforms and transportation for a portion of it?
We have the uniforms now, and for that low a number, if they're doing it with 2 or 3, there's no way we have that in inventory for every sport, because we have more than that. So the uniforms wouldn't be an issue.
It's just transportation.
It'd be, now you're looking at, okay, we're paying entrance fees, potentially, and then bus and gas. So you could have 2 kids that, I'm estimating here, if they did 7 or 8 events, $35 an event, plus your gas, it could be $800 to $1,000 to run that program. Still, if we say we're doing that.
I think we either set a standard or.
Well, and a lot, so
That's why we're setting the standard is.
the sports that can produce gate and can produce money, like pay almost for everything themselves. We have a couple that we can't. Like, we can't have a track meet here and host it and raise money from it. It's just not gonna happen. We can't do you can do a couple cross country, we can do it in the valley. But, so there's certain things that they can't generate funds like some other sports can, for their programs. And so I don't know how in the weeds you wanna get with that and specific. I think starting off with setting a standard, just numbers in the program is a pretty good start, and then we can see how did that work, and then next year address, okay, did we have issues, what can we do? So. But yeah, I understand, I don't know the perfect solution to that yet.
Anything else, Kenny?
Nope.
Hannah, you have anything?
Just those
I
general
do
issues.
not.
Trustee Mitchell, sorry. Confused. Does anybody else have any?
Yeah, I have just a question on is the safety stuff like the gun training and that you talked about last time. Like, is that in one of the handbooks or is that a policy?
I understand it's a policy.
Okay, so we don't have to address any of that in these handbooks.
Correct, and the folks who are on the team very much know those protocols and they have their own handbooks.
Okay.
But it's, that, yeah, very much.
All right, everybody's done asking questions or comments. Does anybody want a motion to approve the handbooks?
I'll make a motion to approve the handbooks as listed, elementary handbook, Loman school handbook, middle school, high school parent student handbook, parent and student athlete handbook, coaches handbook, employee handbook, new teachers mentoring program, and the substitute handbook.
All right, does anybody want a second?
All second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye, motion carries. All right, moving on to hire bus drivers.
So excitingly, we've had 3 great applicants for the bus driver positions that we have available with bringing busing in-house. And interviewed all 3, and they're currently certified to drive bus, so they can start out the school year doing that. And overall, they did a great job. So I would like to propose that the board move to hire Leilani Hopwood, Ernest Updike, and Corey Kelly as part-time bus drivers.
Well, the question I have is, they have prior experience, they're bus drivers before?
They do.
So they've been background checked?
Yep. In fact, all 3 of these folks were driving for Carlos and have been driving our kids for, yeah, oh wow,
The basic smooth.
yeah,
That was a scary part of getting our buses,
yes,
getting bus drivers.
definitely.
Anything else on these bus drivers?
Sounds like a great list of people.
Anybody want, go ahead. Does anybody want a motion to hire these bus drivers?
just real quick, Clay, I do have one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
I was just curious if we had a list of 3 lead drivers as well.
Right now, we're still working on it. There were 2 applicants who would be good candidates.
Okay.
I think that within this, I think that the school should be willing, and because it's such a small amount of people that are willing to do it and can do it, I think that the school should pay for the CDL licensing on anybody willing to go do it.
Yep, and that is part of bringing busing in-house was budgeting for that. And even so, we're still not paying as much as we were for transportation with using Carlos.
In our,
I think there's a lot of concern in the community about that, you know, the school doesn't have money for A, B, and C, but they have money for buses, and at the end of the day, we're leasing the buses and we're paying less for transportation by bringing busing in-house than we were by using Carlos.
That's a good one. Save a lot of money
Yeah,
and have more control.
definitely.
our transportation director, is that the title?
Mhm.
He can still certify or do the passenger training, whatever, to get that test.
Yes.
I told him I was gonna do that one. Okay, anything else?
They did want to specify really quickly, those 2 other candidates I was speaking about, those are separate from these 3 applicants.
Okay,
Sounds good.
you good? Cam, do you want to make a motion?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Do you need the list, Kenny?
What's up?
Do you need the list or do you have it?
Oh, no, I'm not gonna try to remember the motion now. You guys go ahead.
Okay,
I'm ready for the motion.
well, I'll make a motion to hire
Make a
the,
motion to hire the 3 bus drivers that Superintendent Spafford recommended, Corey Kelly, Bruce Updike, and Leilani
Hopwood.
Hopwood.
There we go. All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Blue seconded. Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right, moving on to the school nurse.
Unfortunately, we haven't had any applicants that have interviewed for the school nurse position part-time. We are able to hire an LPN, which is an affordance that we were given with the grant that we have. So we're just going to try harder with getting somebody on board and opening it up. I do have some connections down in the Boise Nampa area. So somebody may be willing to commute up for 2 days a week, and we could do a similar situation that we did this last school year, where we have a nurse on the ground for 2 days a week.
What's the pay? I've had 2 patients recently that was like, oh, I'm a retired nurse. I was like, really, we're looking for a part-time nurse, this is kind of what it would take, but I don't know what it takes, cost of their time, and then what they get out of it.
So we can be very flexible with the time scheduling. Ideally, we'd like somebody here for 4 hours a day, 4 days a week.
Okay.
However, if that's not an option, we can arrange something else if we have a strong applicant. The entire allowance of the grant is $20,000 for the school year.
Okay.
So the hours are, less than a typical nursing gig.
Yeah.
And it's, as far as the, nursing as a career, it's not as demanding as other positions would be. I've been told by school nurses that it's a pretty sweet gig.
All right, I guess that settles that one off. Anything else on that? All right, we will move on to hiring elementary teachers.
So we have been in the process of interviewing, reviewing applications, and at this point, the hiring committee would like to suggest the board to consider hiring a kindergarten teacher, and that is Carrie Heilman. And she will come in under an alternative authorization credential, which is 3-year credential. That's very good. As opposed to like an emergency professional credential, which would be somebody who hasn't yet finished their bachelor's degree. She would be able to be fully certified under the alternate authorization.
That's what she'd like to do. Really like her.
We're impressed with her.
So,
Sounds good to me.
make a motion to hire elementary teacher for kindergarten at Carrot Island.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
All second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Did Hannah say it?
I did not hear Hannah.
You still there, Hannah?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Moving on to discuss and possible motion to declare an emergency hiring situation for Garden Valley School District due to a vacant certified positions for the 2025-26 school year. We did this last year, correct?
We did,
And the
yeah.
year before.
This is it's a repeated thing for Garden Valley, but somebody told me today that when they started, there were like 8 or 9 emergency professional hires. So we're down to 2 this year at max, which is pretty darn good comparatively. And the nature of being a small rural district is we're going to have to work with our community to grow our own and have our own community members trained to be certified teachers. So this is part of that process when we can't fill a position with a highly qualified individual, meaning somebody who has that credential already, that full credential. Then we have to declare an emergency, and we have to formally declare it. And then we can proceed with hiring through that route.
I declare an emergency. Okay, so,
Anybody have any questions about the?
No, we don't.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Which positions are we advertising for?
Right now, we're currently advertising for the Lowman elementary position as well as first grade.
Oh,
Anything else, Kenny?
Nope.
All right, does anybody want to motion this?
Okay, I'll make a motion to declare an emergency hiring situation for Garden Valley School District due to vacant certified positions for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye, motion carries. Now we have open part-time vacant PE teacher position.
Yes, so happily in between the time when this agenda went out, publication, and now, some circumstances have changed, and Melissa Plumo will be returning next year.
Good. We do not need to open any PE teacher position.
We do not.
Good news. All right, does anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
Fastest meeting ever.
That's what happens when I run a meeting.
with a contract, can I sign those electronically, or are they due in a certain amount of time?
Yes and yes,
Okay,
and you and I can discuss that later.
sounds good.
Okay, anything else?
Well,
No.
thank you guys.
Perfect. All right, I will adjourn this meeting until the next regular school board meeting, August 20th, 25 at 6 PM. I'll see you in the same spot.
All right.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Hannah.
Alan said we're so happy with
Nice
you.
job.
Does it really pause this?
I learned from you, Kenny.
Nice work.
Fantastic.